From there we cut to the Death's Head. Team Prowl sneaks off of the ship via the engineering shaft. They look around the strange planet.
What the slag is this place?
Judging from the architecture and the techno-organic structure of the landscape, I think we're on Quintessa.
Scrap.
Lockdown's working for the quintessons? Like Magnus said, he's completely amoral. He'll sell out his own mold mates for the best gear. He has no honor. He doesn't know the meaning of the word. They sneak through the back streets. Unlike on Earth, the architecture of Quintessa is scaled similarly to Cybertron's, a novel feeling for bots who have been earthbound for some time. They're able to avoid detection by the honestly imbecilic Alicons, and the smarter robots are too beaten down to notice or care.
These bots, what happened to them?
They are slaves, Bulkhead. Their will to live has been all but sapped. This would have been our fate had the Quintessons not been defeated and exiled. And it would have been the humans' fate had Megatron and Sentinel Prime not been stopped.
You think that's why the Quints had lockdown capture Prime? To enslave us again?
I won't pretend to know what goes on in those biomechanical freaks' brains. But whatever it is, it can't be good. They near the Citadel and begin to look for a way in. Cut back to Earth. Carly and Cade are in the clinic, watching as Red, Minerva, and Fixit perform surgery on Bumblebee's melted gears. Carly suffers a bit of a flashback to when she heard of Sam's death. In many ways, Bumblebee is one of the last reminders of those days, along with Optimus, as now Ironhide, Jazz, Ratchet, and Sam are all gone. With Optimus's fate unknown and Bumblebee's in jeopardy, she's having a difficult time of it. We have a flashback to shortly after the events of the previous movie, where Carly and Sam's dad, Ron, visit a Supermax prison where Harold Attinger is imprisoned. Mrs. Witwicky, I should have guessed I'd receive a visit from you eventually. Carly glares at the man who ordered her husband's death and hunted her friends across the world. The one behind her and her 3-year-old, at the time, son being forced into hiding. Daniel is 8 in the present. She asks if he has even a shred of remorse for his actions. The only thing I regret is that I allowed one of them to manipulate me. Your husband was a traitor to his country and his planet. I have no mercy in my heart for alien sympathizers. It's in instances like this that I wish my vocal range could go higher, or that I had an actress on standby. The amount of things I'd love to write for RC, for Carly, and for countless other fembots and other female characters is insane. But, well, I'm an adult man with a mid to low vocal range. Bumblebee's voice is probably the highest I can go. Besides G1 Starscream, I guess, but screechy and feminine aren't the same thing. Anyway, Carly has an impassioned monologue about how Sam was a hero and how Attinger is a fool for being unable to see past his own prejudice before turning to leave. We cut back to the present. Cade is having a hard time of it as well. Though his time with the Autobots has been briefer than Carly's, they saved his and Tessa's life. He feels he owes them, but he doesn't know how he can ever repay such titanic beings. Cut from the clinic to Hot Rod, positioned on the city wall with Blurr, RC, Cup, and Springer. Here goes, folks. My greatest challenge yet. I'm going to try the Blurr voice. Where do you think Prime went, Hot Rod? Does he scrap? Will he come back? And what about Bumblebee? Do you think those Metabots can save him? I can't imagine Prowl right now. How guilty he must feel. The lockdown's a real piece of Blurr! Shut up! I only understood about half of what you just said. I'm sure Prime's fine, Blurr. He's gotten himself out of tougher situations than this. As for Bumblebee, well, so long as everything goes smoothly around here, I have the greatest confidence in Evac and his staff. Nothing else, the kid'll walk away with a few scars. I hope he doesn't change too much. I mean, he spent 1,000 stellar cycles without his voice box. It'd be a shame if he loses even more this time. First Megatron rips out his voice, then Lockdown lets his chassis. Good thing Shockwave or the Fallen didn't take something from him. That would have been miserable. Or if those humans had taken his T-Cog, or sometimes I wish Megatron had torn out your voice box instead. Then at least I'd have some peace and quiet. Hot Rod tries to ignore them, leaning against the railing on the wall. He gazes out over the ocean. Then he sees something. A swirling mass of colors opening just a few meters offshore. A space bridge portal? He squints at it. Then, a mass of flying vehicles emerges from the portal, each bearing a familiar insignia. Decepticons! What? That's not possible. Our early warning systems would have tipped us off. My eyes aren't as rusty as yours, old bot. The others approach. Slag, he's right. RC runs over to a panel on the wall and opens it, revealing an emergency alarm switch. She pulls it and a klaxon bears over the Autobot city speakers. We cut to the sensor tower, where Sideways stands over the shell of the operator and the smoking remains of the early warning system.
Noticed a little sooner than I would have preferred. No matter.
He turns at the sound of a portal opening behind him. Vortex, Blastoff, Nightbird, Knockout, and Breakdown emerge from it.
Sideways. My friends, come. The prison is this way.
As Sideways leads these infiltrators, all of whom besides the two Combaticons are cars, allowing them to sneak better, to the prison, don't worry, Blastoff and Vortex are sneaky in their own right, the lead jet outside the city transforms, revealing himself to be Blitzwing.
Decepticons, attack!
The assault is two-pronged, with Blitzwing leading a frontal attack and Sideways sneaking the infiltrators into the prison. Yet Starscream himself is nowhere to be seen. Ultra Magnus mobilizes the city's defenses. The Nest operatives approach the city commander.
Ultra Magnus, how can we help? Wheeljack's been working on something. Go to his station and he'll outfit you.
Lennox, Carly, Cade, and their men all set off in that direction, while Chip works with Perceptor to get the automated defenses up and running.
Wheeljack, Magnus said,
Good, you're here. Put these on. He opens a panel to reveal mech suits, like modern versions of the ones from the '86 movie. Mechanized war suits, outfitted with Energon weapons, Cybertronium plating, battlecruiser-grade glass visors, and his eyes gleam. A transformation cog. Nice. Carly delivers the order to suit up, leading by example to be the first one in her armor. In the suits, they are just smaller than RC. Their cockpits are designed to transform around them when entering vehicle mode, and all commands are delivered via mental command, like musculature, as the suit connects itself at the base of their skulls, a la Doc Ock's arms, though less invasive. Carly looks at her team and delivers the line, "Let's roll," in honor of Optimus. Nest joins the fight. We see Jetfire and the aerial bots engaging Decepticons in the air. Some Decepticons are dropped onto the ground by others, cars, tanks, and trucks. It is a full-blown battle. We cut back to Quintessa. Optimus stands before the Quintesson judges.
So, you know my name.
Of course. Your name is known across the galaxies. The last of the Primes. The doom of the Decepticons. The destroyer of the Allspark.
Optimus glares at that last one.
Your deeds are impressive, Prime. Yet they concern us very little. What we are concerned with is that which you bear within you.
It always comes down to the Matrix. The fallen, Shockwave, Megatron. They all sought it before you. Do you know what they all have in common? I'm still standing, and they're not.
You misunderstand, Prime.
We do not desire to separate the Matrix from you.
We desire your aid.
The last two words are all but spat out, as if the Quintessons loathe the idea of asking a Cybertronian, let alone a Prime, for aid.
That is rich. You send a hired thug to hunt me down, put innocent lives in danger, and injure one of my Autobots to ask me for help? You, who conquered and enslaved Cybertron until Zeta Prime cast you out, now plead for my aid?
The Quintessons bristle at his mockery, but know they cannot retaliate, not if aid is to be given.
Difficult as it may be to believe, yes, for you are the one being in the universe capable of assisting us in this matter. And what is this matter?
The Quints look at each other, their faces shifting. Optimus watches them closely. They turn back to him.
That is irrelevant.
If you refuse to tell me, I will not aid you. It is simple as that. You know you cannot kill me. The Matrix does not answer to your kind. And I guarantee you, torture will not yield the results you desire.
Despite technically being a prisoner, Optimus now holds all the power, and the Quintessons know it. But yet there is still fear that if they surrender this last shred of information, that he will have even more power. Worse yet, if he learns why they brought him here, his hatred for their kind may cause him to refuse. After all, why would a Prime choose to save his kind's greatest enemies from extinction? Many of you have already guessed what the quintessons need him for, I am certain, and for those of you who haven't, well, keep watching.
We must deliberate over how much information to yield.
You cannot bear to yield even one scrap of your power, can you? It terrifies you to your cores.
Enough. You will be placed in a cell until we have made our decision.
To Alacon's approach and guide Optimus out of the room.
You may go, Lockdown. Your payment is being transported to your ship. Pleasure doing business with you.
He turns to leave as the quintessons turn to each other.
We cannot tell him.
We must. His will is strong. It will not be broken by pain.
Even if we do tell him, will he aid us? Surely he will. Primes are dedicated to preserving life. His hatred for us runs deep. If he learns our extinction is inevitable, perhaps he will consign us to it rather than assisting us. There must be some way to make him break.
Cut to the exterior of the Citadel. Prowl and the others are able to sneak in thanks to a det pack brought by Cliffjumper placed on a maintenance vent.
Hope no one heard that. Come on.
They sneak in. They enter the maintenance shafts in order to remain undetected. As they creep in, Lockdown passes under them. He pauses for a second and listens. Prowl hisses at the others to hold still. Lockdown shrugs and walks on. The Autobots relax, only for Lockdown to turn around and blast a hole in the ceiling. Team Prowl fall to the ground. Before they can react, Lockdown blasts each of them with an EMP.
Now how stupid can you bots be?
Cut to Earth. The battle rages on with heavy losses on the Autobot side. Even non-combatants are caught in the crossfire. Sideways and the others make their way to the prison amidst the confusion. One of the prison wardens approaches Sideways.
Lieutenant, what's going on?
Sideways blasts him at point-blank range. As the shell falls to the ground, he waves the others in.
I'll deactivate the cells. Vortex, blast off. Good. What in the slag is going on? A rescue, big boy. Do try to look a little excited.
The cells deactivate, and the imprisoned Decepticons walk free. Sideways takes on his Decepticon form.
A shifter, of course. The most effective kind of spy. Now come. Blitzwing will only keep them occupied for a time. I will get Bludgeon and these others to the Nexus. I need the rest of you cons to cause a distraction. I have quite the distraction in mind.
Brawl, Swindle, Blastoff, and Vortex gather around him.
Combaticons, transform and merge into Bruticus.
Much like Devastator's combination back in ROTF, this will be quite the spectacle. It'll likely be a trailer shot, honestly. The Combaticons unite into their Gestalt form, the mighty Bruticus, and begin to tear through the prison complex.
Destroy Autobots. That'll do. The rest of you, with me.
Bludgeon follows, somewhat confused, but pleased to be free, as are the rest of the prisoners. Bruticus serves as an effective distraction, drawing most of the internal attention, even from Teletran's automated defenses. Jetfire and the aerial bots swoop overhead. You've got to be slagging me.
We'll handle that one, Jetfire. You focus on the Seekers.
Right. The aerial bots dive towards Bruticus. We'll come back to them. Cut to the clinic, where a rumbling under the ground causes Fixit, Minerva, and Red Alert to stumble back. The ground begins to pile up, like the scarab mounds in The Mummy. To all of you who get that reference, you are my people, and I love you. The mounds burst, revealing the horrifying sight of insecticons.
Insecticons! Attack! Attack!
The med staff scatter. Some are struck by lightning from shrapnel's antlers, others find bombshell cerebro shells buried in their foreheads, and some are merely swarmed by the drones. Yeah, Kickback doesn't really have a cool thing. He, kicks really hard. So I guess the doctors get their chest caved in by his own powerful back legs? Bro really got the short end of the dipstick. Red Alert is able to hold his own against the bugs as he was a combat medic back on Cybertron. Minerva is also no slouch, but Fix-It only ever worked in med centers or triages. He finds himself cornered, but his life is saved by a familiar burst of electricity. Bumblebee sits up and aims his stingers at the Insecticons.
Go. Fix-It. Go. Bumblebee, your gears are exposed. Go now!
Fix-It scrambles away, sorrowing at leaving his patient behind. Red Alert tries to make his way to Bumblebee, but is tackled by Kickback. B counters Shrapnel's electricity with his own, entering a sort of energy beam battle. At first, Shrapnel seems to gain the upper hand, with the weakened Autobot scout dropping to one knee.
Pathetic Autobot! You are no match for Shrapnel! Prepare to die!
B grits his teeth and struggles to his feet, pouring as much energy as he can into his blasts.
You first!
He unleashes as powerful a burst as he can muster, blasting the Insecticon back and electrocuting several of the drones. Shrapnel blasts through the wall and flies across the street with a shriek, before he is silenced by slamming into a tower and vanishing in a burst of flame. Bumblebee's body begins to spark as he collapses. Red Alert blasts Kickback off of himself and runs to B's side.
Minerva, help me get him out of here.
Minerva rolls away from one of the Cerebro shells and lifts up B's other arm. As they exit, Red seals the room behind them. The two of them make their way into a central chamber where Evac, Fix-It, First Aid, and the other survivors are. Red hands B over to Fix-It.
Evac, help me.
The two of them go to a control panel.
What are you doing? Sealing us in here. We're going to need protection from what comes next.
Which is?
I'm going to overload all our non-essential systems. Release an electromagnetic pulse that'll fry those bugs.
And anyone else trapped out there?
Anyone not in this room is either dead or under Bombshell's control. And if we don't act fast, the Insecticons will burrow from beneath and kill us all.
Evac processes the information before sighing heavily.
Do it.
Red initiates the overload. Bombshell detects the gathering electromagnetism and retreats to the tunnel with Kickback. The drones, however, are oblivious and soon find themselves purged by a massive EMP burst, along with those who are placed under Bombshell's control. Red leans against the computer console and sighs.
Red? Evac?
B's flatlining. Evac and Red Alert run over to help Fix-It and Minerva stabilize Bumblebee. The camera zooms in on him as his colors begin to grow duller. Cut to Quintessa. Optimus is thrown into a cell by Alicons. He glances around, searching for a means of escape.
Do not bother.
Optimus turns in the direction of the voice. There are 3 other Transformers in his cell.
There is no escape from this place. Believe me, I have tried. I and many others. They all died, and I learned my lesson.
Who are you?
We have no names. The Masters do not give us names. It makes us easier to control.
Did you not have a name before?
Before? There is no before.
Impossible. Cybertronian life can only perpetuate on Cybertron or its colonies. You cannot have been protoformed here.
Protoformed? No. Forged. We were forged here.
Optimus looks more closely at them. His eyes then flare.
Primus. Stolen protoforms. Forged into workers. The quintessons stole you from Cybertron before you were given true form by the Well of All Sparks.
I do not understand your words.
You are not mere machines, friend. You are robotic organisms, like me.
You were not forged here?
No. I come from Cybertron, where all our kind originates. I was given life by the Allspark, a conduit to the spark of Primus.
He opens his chest to reveal his spark chamber.
Like you, I was once a protoform, a being with life, but no solid form or consciousness, until I was forged within the Well of All Sparks, a great factory of sorts on Cybertron, Powered by Primus himself, I was given form, thought, and a name.
What is your name?
My name is Optimus Prime.
Prime. I have heard this word before. The Masters, they speak of Prime. They fear Prime. Yet they seek Prime. You are Prime?
Yes. Your masters, the quintessons, desire my aid, though they did not tell me for what.
But you are like us. Why would Masters seek aid from one of us? Fear one of us?
Because it was another Prime, Zeta Prime, who defeated them long ago, who drove them from Cybertron.
Defeated them?
The quintessons conquered our home long ago. They enslaved us, until Zeta Prime found the matrix of leadership, that which I carry within me. He used the matrix as a symbol to rally all of Cybertron together and banish the quintessons forevermore. They have no true power over us. In truth, they were made by one of us in the before times. When we are united, they cannot control us. Even their foot soldiers, the Sharkticons and Alicons, are primitive versions of us, enslaved to their whim. If they knew the truth, that they could be free, then the quintessons would lose their power here as well.
Impossible. The Masters are powerful.
Are they? What power do they have aside from fear? We have the power to transform, to become something else. We are stronger than they will ever be.
Transform?
Unless the quintessons are ghoulish enough to have torn your cogs from your protoforms, then yes, you can transform.
He stands back and transforms to vehicle mode, then returns to robot mode.
The power is within you. I know it.
The three bots rise to their feet. The smokespin closes his eyes and focuses.
I am transformed.
As soon as he says that, his gears begin to shift, like muscles that have remained unused for years. He turns into a patchwork alien car, the result of the sloppy forging by the Quints. The other two then follow suit. They then return to robot mode.
You see, you are greater than the quintessons. You do not need to serve them.
As Optimus talks to these three, a guard approaches.
You, Prime, come. Masters will speak to you.
Optimus leaves with the Alicon. The other three turn to each other and begin to whisper. Cut back to Earth. We see Ultra Magnus taking on several Decepticons at once, living up to his name. Hot Rod and the rest of the new Team Prime, sans Jetfire, are around him, giving a very 1986 vibe to this whole scene. Blurr shows off his incredible speed by blitzing a heavy Viacon into submission with his kicks. RC demonstrates her agile fighting style we've come to know since Revenge of the Fallen. Springer engages Blitzwing in a battle of the Triple Changers, both on the ground and in the sky. Cup is shown to be quite the weapons master, dual-wielding repeating blasters and mowing down Decepticons. Hot Rod has grown since AoE, demonstrating aptitude in combat far beyond his years. He makes use of his buzzsaw attachment when the clowns get too close and uses both his pistols and his arm cannons at range. At one point, he uses his arm cannons as flamethrowers. Team Bumblebee also fights on, even with their leader off-field, with Brawn taking command. Magnus pulls out his hammer and slams it down, sending a quake through the ground that topples several opponents. Blitzwing locks blades with Springer in mid-air, the former Wrecker using helicopter rotors, his larger sword, to stay airborne.
You fight well, Autobot!
He sees the faded blue insignia on Springer's arm, as his chest bears the traditional red Autobot shield.
A Wrecker. It will be an honor to snuff out your spark.
Sorry, Decepticon. I got better things to do tonight than die. He half-transforms and strikes Blitzwing with his tail rotor, knocking the mad Decepticon off balance. As he closes in, Blitzwing's fellow Triple Changer, Astrotrain, joins the fight. He knocks Springer to the ground. The two Decepticon T-Changers see Magnus absolutely smoking their forces and nod at each other. Magnus is caught unawares as they blast him from both sides. He drops his hammer and falls to his knees.
Sayonara, Autobot!
Hot Rod sees the commander in trouble and leaps into action, unleashing an inferno at the two Decepticons. Cup! RC! The two bots see Ultra Magnus and run to his side. Get him to the spire! He looks around the battlefield as the other two carry Magnus to safety. Where in the pit is Prowl?
No sign of him.
Hot Rod grits his teeth. Optimus is captured, Prowl is missing, Magnus is injured, and Bumblebee is out of commission. With no clear chain of command, he makes a decision. Autobots, to me. He charges at the stunned triple changer and rains fire on them. They take a few blows before transforming and falling back. Hold the line. We will not let Autobot City fall. For Optimus. For freedom. For humanity. The other Autobots rally to him, inspired by his brazen courage. I want this scene to feel similar to the Game of Thrones Season 4 finale, spoilers, I guess, for a 10-year-old season of television, when Jon Snow took temporary command of the Wall. After Mormont's death, Thorne's injury, and Slint's cowardice left the Night's Watch leaderless, Jon stepped up, cementing his future role as Lord Commander. Well, this is like that scene for Hot Rod, because we all know what role he's getting in the future. Not yet, though. Still got 2 more movies to get through. Back to Quintessa, we see several of the quintessons slaves led into a sort of prison yard. They mill about, despair and resignation on their faces. The 3 from Prime's cell enter, something alien on their faces. Something these slave transformers have never seen before. Hope. Their leader calls the slaves over and begins to tell them about what Optimus told him. He tells them that they have the power within them, and shows them how to transform. Now, I'm sure I'm going to get questions about why the Quints didn't remove their cogs, like Sentinel did in Transformers 1. Simply put, they didn't know how. Unlike in G1, where the Quintessons made the Transformers, and as such, knew how they worked, thus why they were able to make zombie Optimus and eventually even bring him back fully from the dead, in this continuity they know little of Transformers' inner workings, especially since the slaves were brought online in an unorthodox manner. They also thought that the nature of the forging would have prevented transformation. And finally, they were afraid that removing a vital organ might weaken their slaves to the point where their labor would be ineffective. So they hoped that by not revealing that they could transform, making them think that only the Alicons were capable of it, that it would suffice. They didn't count on Optimus Prime's obsession with inspiring people to become greater than they are. As the slaves attempt to unlock their transformations, the guards take notice.
Hey, what you doing?
Cut to inside the Citadel. Optimus is led inside the court chamber. The judges sit there, staring at him.
So, are you going to tell me why you need me?
No, Optimus Prime. We have a better bargaining chip.
The door opens and Lockdown enters with the other Autobots, chained in Energon restraints. Optimus's eyes widen. The bots are placed on the platform as the Sharkticon pit is opened.
This court is now in session.
These Autobots are accused of vandalism and trespassing on Quintessa.
A grave crime, punishable by death.
Oh, spare us this mockery of justice. Everything is punishable by death to you, filth.
Silence.
Guilty or innocent?
The Quints turn to look at Optimus.
The fate of your Autobots rests in your hands, Prime. Agree to our terms, or our Sharkticons will eat well tonight.
Optimus looks between the Quintessons and his Autobots. Cut back to Earth. Hot Rod is able to galvanize the Autobots into pushing the Decepticons back, though the fight is far from over. The aerial bots reach Bruticus and begin to circle. Bruticus aims a blast at them, but they dodge it. Not the friendliest guy, is he? Still nicer to hang around than you, Slingshot. Oh, slag! Focus up, you bots. Aerial bots, transform and merge into Superion. In a sequence just as epic as Bruticus's, the aerial bots merge in midair into Superion, marking the first full Autobot combiner in the series, not including Optimus and Jetfire's command mode. Bruticus is caught off guard by a fellow combiner, and as he is more slow-witted than Devastator and Superion, he is unable to react before the Autobot decks him. Hey, why are none of the Autobot combiners dumb? Like, Defensor and Superion are pretty standard hero fare in the brain pan, and Computron is literally the smartest being in existence, as well as the lamest of all combiners. But Bruticus, Abominus, Predaking, none are particularly clever guys. Oh well. Menasor seems well-spoken, I guess. And at least Bruticus is freaking awesome. Definitely the coolest looking out of the combiners. Anyway, ADHD tangent over. The two gestalts clash, Bruticus being able to take the brunt of Superion's attacks before adapting. Despite Superion's aid, the battle is still raging on. Hot Rod knows they need to end it, and fast. Blurr, with me. Springer, hold the line till I get back. The pair transform. We're good, Hot Rod. We're not retreating, are we? Do we have a plan? Something clever? Something to get rid of those Decepticons? Are we going the right way? We need to end this fight, Blurr. I'm breaking out the big guns. The big... Oh. Oh no. They arrive at a secure compound on Autobot City, an enclosure that allows its denizens a space and prevents them from laying waste to the city. It is an arrangement that all parties accepted when it was proposed. As though their minds are not what they once were, these particular bots know full well how dangerous they are. Hot Rod and Blurr transform. Rod opens the door and steps into the enclosure, which is made to resemble a prehistoric tropical setting. It's more of a habitat than anything else. Grimlock! At the sound of his name, the great Tyrannosaurus bot emerges from the trees, his every move shaking the ground beneath him. He transforms into his robot mode, towering over the Autobot. Autobot City needs your help. It needs the Dinobots. Back to Quintessa. Optimus clenches his fists. He thinks back to the times he allowed himself to be bested to save his friends, while he is still loath to sacrifice them. Don't help them, Prime. Whatever they want, it can't be good. If we have to die to keep these creeps at bay, then so be it. Well, dying on my first day wasn't in my plans when I joined the team.
Choose, Prime, before the choice is made for you.
A commotion from outside draws everyone's attention. The doors burst open as several patchwork transformers and some Alicons charge the chamber.
What is the meaning of this?
The leader of the slaves transforms and fixes his gaze on Optimus.
This is a rebellion, quintessons.
The sheer number of them overwhelms the Alicons. They trample the prosecutor to get to the dais. One of the judges hits a button which raises the dais to a higher point in the citadel. Optimus tosses his guards into the Sharkticon pit and rushes for his friends, drawing his arm blades, the one weapon he didn't tell Lockdown about. He dodges blaster fire from Alicons and Lockdown as he cuts the others free.
Autobots, transform and roll out!
Don't have to tell me twice. As the freed slaves swarm the citadel, the Autobots make their escape. Lockdown snarls, not willing to allow his bounty to escape. He transforms and runs down slaves in his path in pursuing them. As they exit the citadel, they see that the revolution has spread throughout the city. What happened? When we got here, these bots looked, well, hopeless.
Exactly, Prowl. They were hopeless.
You mean, you gave them hope?
I only showed them the hope that they carried within themselves. The rest was all them.
How does he do it? Every time. The Autobots shift into overdrive, Lockdown close behind them. Back to Earth. Springer and the other Autobots hold the line, among them being his fellow former wreckers, Whirl, Topspin, and Roadbuster. Blitzwing has regained his composure and cackles wickedly. Suddenly, his glee is interrupted by an entire squad of Vehicons being consumed in flame. The Dinobots charge into the fray, startling most of the Decepticons, though the ex-KSI ones do recognize them. Hot Rod and Blurr roll in alongside the Dinobots.
Dinobots, destroy Decepticons!
Well, that's one way to clutch a victory. Cut to the Nexus, which has heretofore remained untouched. With Wheeljack in the fray, it is only manned by a few techs and guards, all of whom find themselves on the receiving end of Sideways, Knockout, Nightbird, Breakdown, and Dropkicks blasters. Sideways approaches the console and reverts to his Autobot form so that Teletran will allow him access. He begins to input coordinates and activates his comlink.
Extraction underway, Blitzwing. Pull your men back.
Blitzwing receives the message. He glares in the direction of the Dinobots.
Gladly! Decepticons, fall back!
The Decepticons make their way out of the city, though some of the ground-based ones are unable to flee in time before being crushed underfoot by Dinobots. One in particular is crushed beneath a piece of debris that Slag pushed over and then walk on.
Excuse me.
The Combaticons unmerge just as Superion aims a heavy blow at them, with Astrotrain, Blastoff, and Vortex catching Onslaught, Brawl, and Swindle in midair.
Starscream, open the space bridge!
The portal opens midair and the retreating Decepticons vanish through it. What the slag caused that? Hot Rod, this is Perceptor. There's an unauthorized ground bridge activation at the Nexus. What? He, Blurr, Springer, Brawn, Jetfire, Wheeljack, and the Dinobots race for the Nexus just as Bludgeon and the other prisoners vanish through the bridge. Sideways looks back at them, chuckles wickedly, and changes to his Decepticon form before escaping himself. The bridge closes. Wheeljack figure out where they went. Wheeljack goes to the console, which begins to fritz as soon as he touches it. Frag. They wiped the logs. So this whole battle was a distraction to spring Bludgeon and the other prisoners? What kind of lame-brained Decepticreep would sacrifice that many men in a prison break? The last member of Decepticon High Command still on Earth, Megatron's treacherous lieutenant, and my former friend, Starscream. Back to Quintessa. The Autobots near the landing pad where the Death's Head is. They transform as they reach the ship.
Bulkhead, Cliffjumper, man the auxiliary cannons. We may need them. Hound, man the navigation and black hole drive. Mirage, the pilot's chair. Drift, Prowl, you're with me.
What are we doing, Optimus?
Buying the others some time.
They turn to see Lockdown racing towards them. He transforms and lands, glowering in their direction.
Leaving so soon?
He charges at them. With Optimus's coordination, the three of them fare far better than the attack on Boston. Optimus draws the bulk of Lockdown's attention, allowing Drift and Prowl to strike him while he's distracted. Lockdown snarls and draws the EMP generator, aiming it at Optimus.
Oh, no, you don't.
He pulls Drift's Energo Sword from his back, which glows white in his hands, and slashes at the connection point where the EMP gen sits. He severs the weapon from its casing and snatches it in midair, aiming it at Lockdown. The bounty hunter is unable to resist what has become his signature weapon, aside from the hook, as he is incapacitated.
This belonged to my friend, and this,
he cuts his acid launcher free as well,
belongs to me.
He holds the sword against Lockdown's throat, hatred plastered across his face. Even stunned, Lockdown is able to muster a cruel chuckle.
What are you waiting for, Prowl? Take your revenge.
Prowl is stunned that Lockdown remembers his name.
Oh yeah, I lied. I forget most of my marks' names, but I never forgot yours.
Prowl grips the sword tightly and raises it. Then he stops.
No, that's too easy. I want to do to you what you did to me. I want you to see us fly away in your ship. I want you to be helpless to stop us. I want you to know that you failed. And I want to take a piece for myself.
He slashes downwards, severing the hook arm. Lockdown screams in anguish as Prowl picks it up. The Autobot turns to his fellows, tossing Drift his sword.
I'm done here.
Then let's go home.
Ship's ready, Optimus. The three of them board the Death's Head, and it takes off. The EMP wears off just as the black hole drive activates, causing the ship to vanish. Lockdown rises to his feet and glares at the sky.
You haven't heard the last of me, Prowl. Count on that.
He slinks away in the direction of an abandoned Quintesson shuttle. Cut back to Earth as the Decepticons arrive at their base. Bludgeon is led by Sideways into the main chamber, where Starscream lounges on a throne.
You were behind this.
A simple thank you will suffice, Bludgeon. After all, I am the reason you now walk free, instead of rotting in an Autobot cell.
And why would you free me? One of your rivals?
Because you are not my rival anymore. What followers of yours I did not just liberate have long since followed me, or fallen in battle. Simply put, Bludgeon, your faction is mine now. Yours and Shockwave's.
Do you really think so? What makes you so sure that I will be unable to sway my men back to my side, let alone some of yours?
Because in doing so, you will weaken the Decepticon cause. Look around you, Bludgeon. I now command nearly half of all Decepticons still online in the universe, more than any other faction leader. Shockwave is no more. Soundwave has vanished. Who remains to defy me? Cyclonus? Straxus Overlord? No, none of them have enough bot power to resist me.
Is there a point to your preening, Starscream?
Simply this. I now have the greatest shot at reuniting the Decepticons under one united banner. For the first time since Megatron's demise, and even before, we can truly be one. Why waste time warring in deep space over paltry colonies when we can build one united empire? Look at the Autobots. Since building their city, they have never been stronger. They have a power base. We are warring clans. How can we hope to conquer the universe so long as we remain divided? How can we hope to one day locate our lost homeworld if all our resources are spread thin? How can we crush the Autobots if we are too focused on crushing each other? We need to unite, Bludgeon, under one strong ruler. Me, Megatron's true heir.
At first, Bludgeon seems like he wants to protest again, but then he catches Sideways' gaze. The two look at each other. Sideways' eyes flash purple for an instant. In realization, so do Bludgeon's own. He nods and looks back to Starscream.
Very well, Starscream. My sword and my men are yours.
Excellent.
He turns and presses a button. The wall behind him opens, revealing a massive hangar which contains a Nemesis-class warship.
Behold, the new flagship of the Decepticons, the Victory. At long last, we will leave this pathetic mudball and take to the stars.
Bludgeon and Sideways share another look, their eyes remaining purple this time. Back to Autobot City. The bots work to repair the damage. Hot Rod and a recovered Ultra Magnus oversee the reconstruction. A warping sound comes from overhead, and the Autobots look to see the Death's Head appearing from a black hole portal. A signal comes over Magnus's comm.
Optimus Prime to Ultra Magnus. We are coming in for a landing.
Confirmed, Prime. The Death's Head lands among the other Autobot ships. Optimus and Team Prowl disembark and are greeted by the others.
Welcome home, sir.
Optimus and the others look around at the destruction.
What happened here?
Long story. We dissolve to a short while later, after Optimus is briefed on the events of the day on Earth.
We lost a lot of lives today, Prime. And we will mourn those lives. But many more lives may have been lost, were it not for Hot Rod taking charge as he did.
Optimus, I wasn't able to prevent Sideways and the others from escaping.
There was no way for you to have known of Starscream's true intentions. Regardless, you demonstrated courage worthy of a Prime today. Hot Rod, I promote you to the rank of Lieutenant Commander, and award you with entry into the Elite Guard.
Elite? Thank you, sir. He salutes Optimus, who nods and begins to walk away. He walks past several caskets bearing fallen warriors and stops beside one in particular. He rests a hand on it and glances down to see Carly, Chip, Cade, and Lennox staring at the casket as well.
Farewell, old friend.
He turns and walks away, revealing the plaque on the casket which reads in both cyberglyphics and English, Bumblebee. Optimus delivers the closing monologue.
There are times when the future is unsure, when the burden seems too heavy to bear. And yet, even when all seems to have given way to despair, hope still remains, just out of view.
One final vision shows in Optimus's mind, where the figure bearing the Matrix becomes clear. Crimson and orange armor emblazoned with golden flame, a face no longer as youthful. There stands what appears to be Hot Rod. The vision closes.
My name is Optimus Prime, and I send this message to any who stand in fear of what is to come. Do not lose hope. The clouds will part, the sun will rise, and a shining new day will stand before us.
Credits roll. Mid-credit stinger. We are back on Quintessa. The rebels have commandeered almost every ship and fled to the stars to find their fellow Cybertronians. leaving the Quintesson Council to gather in the Citadel's highest layer.
The slaves are gone.
A minor problem. The greater issue is their theft of the bulk of our fleet. How many ships remain? Not enough to evacuate the populace.
Then we must prioritize the most important members of our species, the scientists, magistrates, and engineers.
What of the remaining Anacons and civilians?
We can build drones until we can breed new warriors, and civilians are a necessary sacrifice.
We cannot deliberate for much longer.
Correction. We need not deliberate at all. Look.
They all hover to the window, where a massive shadow falls over them. A great, horned, planetoid creature comes into frame.
We are doomed.
A smaller shape flies from atop the massive being. This shape transforms from a flying tank mode into a robot with violet armor plating, a crown-like crest on his head, and a large cannon on his right arm.
Denizens of Quintessa, I am Galvatron, and I have come to inform you of your destruction. Rejoice, for you are about to be sustenance for the Chaos Bringer, my master, Unicron.
The horns of the monstrous being stab into the surface of the planet as a mouth-like apparatus opens. The Quintessons soon find themselves consumed by the eldritch horror that is Unicron, the being that they hoped Optimus Prime would defend them from. Galvatron watches dispassionately as Quintessa is devoured, his purple-colored eyes glowing. And with that horrifying scene, this film is brought to a close. As always, thank you all for joining me on my quest. If you enjoyed the video and like what I do here, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. If you'd like to support the channel further, consider joining the Knights Realm Patreon for $1 a month and get access to exclusive content, including videos not available on YouTube and supercuts of my rewrites. Or if you'd like to request a future video topic or vote on pre-chosen topics, you can join at $5 a month or leave a super thanks in the comments below. In any case, I will see you all on our next adventure, whenever that may be. Merry Christmas, my friends, and a Happy New Year.